As a Korean American or Asian American, young female CEO, what advice would you give to other women?
You need to fight for what you deserve and remember like your sense of worth and to always negotiate and not to feel 쫄았어. I don't know what that is in English, but
I love it. 쫄았어. 돈 쫄지 마.
I actually trying to think about English translation, but
돈
yeah.
쫄아.
It's hard. Like you're always gonna feel small and.
We have Carol Pack, founder and CEO of Makku, all-natural Makgeolli, a Korean rice drink. Makgeolli is like really traditional Korean drink, right? How did you get started? That's so rare.
Yeah. So I think growing up, I always wanted to be a founder. My parents both own their own businesses. And so I just grew up with them always kind of managing their own schedules. And I never really thought to be like a lawyer or doctor like the typical Korean families push you to.
Mm-hmm.
Although my parents did want me to be a lawyer.
Of course.
So yeah, after college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I had like a bunch of random jobs. And then I somehow met a tech founder at the time who wanted to build this like tech app together. So I had that experience for a year and I quickly realized tech is not for me. So I went to business school to try to shift my career maybe more towards like CPG, consumer packaged goods. I ended up working at ZX Ventures, which is like an incubator venture arm of AB InBev, Anheuser-Busch InBev, the world's largest alcohol company.
Budweiser, right?
Yeah, Budweiser company. So I was in this very like new and special unit that focused on new innovations. And then eventually I was placed as like project lead to lead like a new product launch in China. And yeah, when I was working in China, I would travel to Korea often, and then I realized, oh, my friends my age are drinking makgeolli here, and they don't drink makgeolli in the U.S. And I just found that really interesting. And then my friends were like, oh no, we don't always drink makgeolli. We just started drinking makgeolli because there's these new craft makgeolli bars, and we mostly just drink soju, but this is like a fun thing once in a while, and we just wanted to show you because you work in the beverage industry. So that's what exposed me to like the craft makgeolli movement in Korea. This was in 2016, 2017. And then when I returned to the US and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go get a bottle of makgeolli, I realized there are so few options and they taste so different from what's offered, like the premium offerings in Korea. And then I, just went down a rabbit hole of like, why would that be? And, could there be a market for this? And if Korean food and Korean culture is trending, why wouldn't Korean alcohol be next? And even with soju, there is premium soju in Korea, but like people only really know the green bottles here, and there could be so much more in terms of like offerings of Korean alcohol. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll start a company focused on more traditional, premium, good quality Korean alcohol. And the first product that we decided on was Makku because I felt like there was a real lack of makgeolli offerings, and it didn't seem as scary as like competing with like Jinro soju. That was kind of the backstory of it, and this was 8 years ago. But yeah, I don't think I really realized what it meant to start a beverage brand. Like I was going into it very naively.
Wow.
It started off like as a fun project.
Yeah, but you kept on going for 8 years. That's pretty good.
I know, I blinked and I was like, wow, it's been 8 years.
What does Makku mean? Does it have a meaning?
No, I felt like one of the challenges was that makgeolli is very hard to pronounce, especially if you look at the traditional spelling of it. It's Makgeolli. So when Americans are trying to read it, it'll take a few seconds and then they'll say Makgeolli. It is, a shortened abbreviation word on the, word makgeolli.
Uh-huh.
And also, I was just studying a lot of brand names and realized like, two syllables is good. There are certain characters that are like funner to say, like that the KK. I thought it was like a fun little um sound.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it it
It's
it, it was a very easy name
yeah, it
to
is.
come up with.
It's very catchy. I was like,
Mm.
oh, Makku, what's
Yeah.
Makku? I wonder Makku. Yeah, I figured that it had something to do with makgeolli, but that's really good. That's very clever.
Thank
Nice.
you.
For those of us who don't know Korean traditional beverage, tell us a little bit about makgeolli. What is it?
So it's Korea's oldest alcohol. It's made with steamed rice, and when you ferment it with a traditional fermentation starter called nuruk, that's native to Korea, um, you put that in a pot with water, and then you ferment it, and it becomes makgeolli. So it's a very, very simple, humble drink with three ingredients, and it's been around for, they say centuries. Like all the sources online, it's different. People will say like it came from this dynasty or this dynasty, but everyone will kind of agree that it is the oldest referenced alcohol in any kind of like Korean literature. And it's always present for any kind of Korean celebrations or ceremonies or rituals or traditions. And so, um, yeah, it's a family drink. I would say it's celebrated and consumed together and shared amongst people from all generations. And it's typically very low ABV, like 6%, and it's slightly sweet, so it's just a lot easier to drink casually and to pair with food. But we wanted to do something a little bit more accessible and a little bit more close to what makgeolli is kind of perceived as in Korea, and so we just back sweeten with some cane sugar. So you'll probably get some part of the sweetness from the rice naturally, but our sugar doesn't come fully from just the rice.
I see, I see. Wow. So, when I think of makgeolli, I think a very traditional setting
Hmm.
where, like in K-dramas, they always have makgeolli at the barbecue table. Or the other thing I know is when the Korean ajumas and ajashis come down from hiking, they always have makgeolli and 빈대떡
Right.
at the. Base of the mountain.
Hmm.
So those are the images I have of makgeolli.
Yes.
But your brand, I feel like it's very trendy, even the packaging and the name. Are you trying to introduce that to a different market?
Yeah. So, for me, growing up, makgeolli was always like a drink you drink when it's raining. Like it's
Mm.
raining,
Oh,
let's go drink some makgeolli with some pajan. Um, but I couldn't I didn't want to introduce makgeolli to the U.S. market that way because it doesn't make sense. Even Koreans don't know why we do that,
yeah.
and there's different hypotheses. But I didn't want to coming in with some like insensible like
Mm.
this is a drink you drink when it rains.
Right.
And it would be also very difficult to do that. For me, I was like, let's come with like a blank mind and a fresh start. This is like a low alcohol, like very carbonated, refreshing drink. It was had very similar attributes to beer and hard cider and hard seltzer and a lot of the canned beverages in America.
Mm.
So, and then the plus was it had a flavor profile. It is oftentimes gluten free and it's a little bit sweeter than the other offerings. So it's kind of like an alternative to beer or hard cider, like hard apple cider. And so
Hmm.
I think for the longest time in America, the only other alternative to beer was hard cider.
Hmm.
But, the growth has stagnated, and I think it's because you can only get so much flavor profile with just apples, and it's, maybe people are looking for something new or different, and people are also interested in a lot of different cultures, and especially Korean culture now. And so I thought, with all this Korean heritage and history and the base flavor profile being rice, which is like can be appreciated by anyone. I thought it was a very approachable and sensible alternative to any kind of low alcohol canned refreshing beverage here. So for that reason, I was like, okay, we're gonna put it in a can, and I'm gonna try to make this an alternative to like beer and hard cider in the market. And that was the thought process. And so, in Korea would inform, oh, you drink this with posam, or you drink this with tubu or kimchi, or after a hike, or they have all of these occasions and food, and that's easier for consumers to, I think, grasp in their brain and remember, oh, it's raining, oh, we just went hiking, makgeolli is that drink.
Mm.
But I think those occasions are a little bit more limiting here, and like that has been created collectively by Koreans for centuries. And like I, as one single person, it would be really, really hard to build that culture around a drink. And so I kind of just launched it in the market to see how people are drinking it. And it's just very similar to how people drink beer. Very casual, barbecues, picnics with dinner, after dinner, by themselves, or not by themselves. But there's a very large range of occasions. And I think one also huge difference with Koreans and Americans is that Koreans will always pair food and drink together, whereas here a lot of times people will just drink without any kind of anju or meal. So it allows for more makku occasions. So we're still figuring out like what's our messaging? Is it appropriate for us to set certain occasions and ways to consume makku, or do we just let the consumers dictate and figure that out? Yeah, I think we're allowing it to be more flexible. And yeah, not really dictating this is how you drink makgeolli.
Yeah, but you're introducing makgeolli and how it could be paired or consumed in many, many different ways and occasions. So that's really interesting. I went online. I wanted to order some makku before this, but there was the Whole Foods is 2 miles from here, but they didn't carry. So
Oh no.
I was wondering, where can I find makku?
We don't have makku in North Carolina, but you'll find it in Atlanta.
I see.
Yeah.
So another reason to go to Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the packaging, by the way.
I think at the time, all the craft beer packaging was like very, very busy with a lot of graphics and graffiti, like very Brooklyn style, a lot of art on it. And while they were all beautiful, on a shelf together, they all kind of blend in together, and it becomes like too much for the human eye. So then I was like, let me go the opposite way and go super, super simple. And then the stripe is because originally we were going to launch the can upside down, because another challenge that we have is like you're shaking the can. You have to shake makgeolli, right? But no one is thinking of shaking a can because everyone thinks it's going to explode. And so we wanted a mark that was intact, upside down or right side up. And so then it was like the slash that no one seemed to own in terms of like IP or brand identity. But we decided to import from Korea, and then no one had an answer for whether or not we could pass customs if we had an upside down can, and I didn't want to risk it, so I was like, let's just have a normal. Yeah.
So when you say we, like, I hope you're not doing this alone. I don't think you could do it alone, but you have a whole team? You are.
Yeah, I did have a team until last year. But obviously with a team, you have much higher expectations, and then it takes a lot more of my time to manage. And I was able to keep the team going because I kept on fundraising. But then I usually fundraise in Korea, and it takes a lot of my time. And then I just felt like I was getting so diluted. Like I was just losing so much ownership of the company. And we weren't like growing fast enough where it's like, okay, but we're valued at 100 million. So even if I own like 30%, I'm fine. So I realized it's going to be a very like slow growing market, and it may take a really long time, and it may not be the best business model for investors to want to invest in because they want like a shorter time horizon for a return. So I decided like, I'll stop fundraising, but that also means that I have to reduce my expenses, and the biggest expense pocket for us was our workforce. So yeah, I had to make a really difficult decision to like let them go because I wanted to run the business a different way. And I'm also expecting a second baby soon. So
Oh, congrats.
it's hard to run a business full time while trying to also manage a growing family. And so
Of course.
it's like for this time in my life, I just want a smaller, quieter business that I could kind of navigate on my own based on
Yeah.
like my terms.
It sounds like a lot of work. Just on the business side alone. But
Yeah.
of course, you have a growing family on
Yeah.
that too. Yeah. The makgeolli is made in Korea, I think you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You have a factory or what do you call it? Like a plant, brewery?
Production facility or brewery. It's not our own. We work with a partner, and that was one of the largest and most important decisions for us. And thankfully, we found a really great partner early on.
I'm not an entrepreneur like you are. How do you even like come up with the idea and plan it out, follow through, and like find all these resources and put it together? Wow, that's just amazing to me.
It's funny because I have people come and they're like, "Oh, I want to start a business, but I can't think of an idea." And for me, it's like my problem is I have so many business ideas. I always have to shut down because I'm like, I need to focus on this one.
Uh-huh.
So I think there's definitely natural born like idea generators versus like whenever I see something, I'm like, ooh, if I
Yeah.
started that, or like if I did that.
Yeah, you're a natural born entrepreneur. Like as
Yeah.
your parents, I guess that really influenced you a lot.
Yeah, I think my brother and sister were like,
Mm.
I want nothing to do with that. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want the risk. I don't want blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just my personality where I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want a boss, and I'd rather take the risk and build
Mm-hmm.
something and have a lot more fun doing that than
Mm.
working a corporate job.
Tell me about your work experience with working with Koreans in Korea as a Korean American. Like, do you speak the language fluently?
I wouldn't say fluently, but enough to conduct business.
Okay, that's fluent.
And definitely my Korean, fluency expanded as I
Sure.
did business in Korea.
Yeah.
And all my fundraising was in Korea. All my production meetings were in Korean. So I think I just had to learn the vocabulary of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like business terms when it comes to production and fundraising. Um, but I've been going a lot less since I had my child, and I've been pregnant a couple times, so my Korean fluency stuff, I'm like losing it, and now I'm like
Mm.
over relying on ChatGPT. So I'm just like, I don't even read my Korean emails. I just plug it in to
Uh-huh.
translate,
Uh-huh.
and then I write it in English and I translate it back. So I'm like losing that exercise.
Mm.
But definitely, like I speak more than average Korean because I grew up with my grandma. Like she lived with us, and she didn't speak any English. So that, and I went to 한글학교 my whole life, and then um, you know I listen to Korean music and I watch Korean dramas all the time. So, and then I also studied in Korea for 2 years during college.
Okay, so that helps.
Yeah.
But how about culturally? Like, I mean, you're making sul, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then they're like, what do you know about sul, you Korean, I mean, you're American girl,
Mm-hmm.
like how do they perceive you?
I think that was something I was a little worried about.
Mm.
Because even before I went to Korea, I had a brewery here, and I was pitching the product to Korean restaurant owners. And even with my previous company, the tech company, it had something to do with restaurants, and I was doing like sales. And people were like, okay, so who's the owner of the company? And it's like, oh, it's me. And they were like, you look like you're in high school. Like some people, they just couldn't believe, or they would laugh, or
Wow.
it was very like disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 8 years ago where looking back, I really looked like a baby. So it was like me going to a lot of these established makgeolli companies, asking them for production contracts for me to build the makgeolli category in
Mm-hmm.
America.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it was very much like unbelievable, but somehow I think because we all had a shared interest, like most of these companies in Korea are interested in building the makgeolli category in the US. They just don't have either the time or the resources or the team to do that. So as long as the terms were favorable, no one was like quick to like ignore me. Like most of them gave me a meeting, and a lot of them were like, okay, like we'll bring it up to the CEO, or sometimes I met the CEO myself. But then the partner that we ended up choosing was, I met with the CEO from day one, and he was so excited about what I was trying to do. And I
Wow.
think he didn't take my age or gender or lack of experience into consideration. And he was just like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. So I got really lucky, I think, in meeting the right people.
Mm.
And I think generally it's just like brewers are good people. That's kind of how I
Are
feel.
they? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of them it just comes from like a place of passion, or it's
Mm.
been like a family project for generations. And so and a lot of them are younger too, because they're taking on their parents' business.
Mm.
And that's kind of where I think a lot of the makgeolli boom came from, the craft makgeolli boom. Like the average makgeolli brewing age went from 60 to 30.
Wow.
Yeah. So a
That's
lot of
amazing.
new
Yeah.
CEOs, granted this is like more recent times,
Mm.
are young. They're in their early 30s. Hejung Nim, the CEO that I was talking to, he's older,
Mm-hmm.
and their challenge was definitely like, yes, but we don't know how to reach a younger generation. And he was also like the president of the Makgeolli Association in Korea, and so his whole like life goal is to globalize Makgeolli. And so they had no intention of coming to America, because it was like a market that he had no confidence about. But I
Yeah.
think he was really, I don't know, probably intrigued and happy to hear that I was like trying to do something.
Wow. It sounds like you're in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people.
Yeah, yeah, I think I was fortunate.
Wow. That's great. Good for you.
Thank you.
I'm happy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's I mean makgeolli is such a rare, I mean unknown beverage in America. So,
Right.
I'm sure the introducing and get people finding it interesting will take time. Of course, among Koreans, we all know what makgeolli is.
Hmm.
But you also have like flavor makgeollis too, right? Are those which one's your bestseller so far?
Mango is our bestseller after original in
Mm,
terms of flavor, and the flavors I definitely did create for the non-Korean audience
mm-hmm,
as a kind of like a stepping stone
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to, oh, maybe if they like a mango flavor, they'll be willing to try a mango makgeolli even though they don't know what makgeolli is. And if they like that, maybe they'll try regular makgeolli. And so it was always kind of like um, a modern take, or like a
Mm,
fusion
yeah,
to
yeah.
something a little bit more accessible and fun. And I also thought, like, because we're using real fruit, all of our makgeolli flavors are like the color of the fruit. And so I thought it would be like very visually
Yeah.
pleasing with like photos and very
Like makgeolli
shareable.
cocktails and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if I were to open your brain, how many percentage of your brain would be on makgeolli?
Uh, I mean, more so on Makku,
Oh,
but
makku. Yeah.
um, well, we are starting a new project on soju right now, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
actually taking up just as much time as Makku.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I would say still like family is like 40%, and then
Yeah.
business
Soju and
probably
makku.
takes, yeah, 60.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But as a working mom, young working mom with young babies soon to be, how do you manage your emotions? Like, don't you get stressed or anxious about, am I doing, what am I doing? I mean, I'm asking you as a mom, like,
Right, right, right.
yeah, yeah.
I think this business has trained me not to be as stressed and anxious. And I think generally it's not in my personality. I've definitely gotten more anxious and more stressed by having this business, but we've been through so much difficulty and challenge that I think I've learned to learn how to not stress out over things I can't control. Um, so like even recently we got into like a car accident and thankfully everyone was fine. But then when the ambulance came, they were like, you just got into a car accident. How are you? Like, you seem totally fine. And I was like, yeah, because nobody was hurt. Like, nobody was hurt, so I'm just very happy. But I think the way that I encounter difficulty and challenges now is just like, we'll figure it out. As long as everyone's like healthy and fine, we'll figure it out. So I think the only thing that would really give me stress is not even if the company goes out of business, because that's always a risk that I know about, right? It's a very high likelihood, and it's not the end of my life. Like, I could go find a job or start another company, and it would obviously be very like devastating. But I think more so for me, it's like personal. Like, if someone in my family were to be unhealthy or get harmed, or so someone in my social circle, I think that is a lot more, or like more worldly events. I think that's a little bit takes a toll on me emotionally than anything that happens with the business. But yeah, even as a mom, everyone says I'm a very like chill mom. I don't, I'm very like lax, I guess. But also like my parents weren't very strict with me, so I, definitely am a very, very present mom. But I'm not like a tiger mom, and if it's anything medical, I'll just take him to the doctor, and I just try not to worry about what I don't have to worry about.
Wow. How do you arrive there? Because many of us, we want to be that mom, the chill mom, and like not worry about even losing a business. You said that's always a risk that you take on. What narrative or space takes you there? Like, I'm really curious.
I think it's because there's been so many times where we were on the brink of losing the business. Not losing the business, but like either usually the company running out of money, and so I was so prepared to figure out what was next. So I have already thought through. I've already wrote like multiple letters of like a goodbye to our community and to my investors, and like try to explain what happened, or even times where I was so burnt out where I was like, and maybe I make an intentional decision to step away from this business. Because at one point when I was so burnt out, I realized like this business is consuming me, and it's like kind of changing me as a person into a way I don't want to become. And I had to step away, and I was like, this isn't me. The business is not me. Like, it's something I'm working on, and it's something I'm building, but it just doesn't have to define me. And so I think because I'm on year 8, I had to go through many years of like trying to separate the business and my self-worth and my self-identity, and talking to a lot of other founders who like either shut down their businesses and then had that like huge depression after, of like feeling like a failure, and then me learning to about like, because then I'm the one talking them out of it, right? Like, you're not a failure, and blah blah blah, and then so I'm like, if I ever come down to that, like, I have to remember the same for myself. So it's definitely been like a process, and who knows if it actually happens, if I would be able to be as positive. But I also think generally as a founder, you have to have a very positive mindset, and like, I have a very positive disposition to begin with, my personality. So I think that all helps. And it's also because I have a really great support system. So
Yeah.
I have my immediate family, I have my husband's family, I have my family, I have a lot of friends. And so I know that worst comes to worst, like, I'll always find my way to be okay.
Wow. That's very amazing to me. Like the way you explain. It sounds like you have really good boundaries set up around your personal life, your work, yourself, and also very would you say you're a very introspective person?
I didn't think that, but I feel like everyone I talk to always makes a comment that I'm very self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I guess because so many people have said that. And then I talk to people where I realize they have no self-awareness. I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit more self-aware. But I think I have a pretty good sense of self and what is important to me and my values, and that helps with. And I do think a lot of it comes from my identity and me being very comfortable with being Korean American and having such a like I have I'm very close to my family.
Yeah.
So I think that all helps, but I do think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am introspective.
It sounds like it. You say you're very comfortable with yourself, and also you're very close to your family. Your parents were not really strict or overbearing. What was the message you think that you received from your parents?
So my mom, she was a nurse in Korea, and then she came to America on some program to become a nurse in America, and she knew no English, she didn't know anyone, and so she just like, I think her hospital was in Brooklyn, so she was living in Brooklyn. And, very typical immigrant family. She came with nothing, no family members, no friends, and it was a very scary experience. She said it was a predominantly like Black community, and it was the first time stepping outside of Korea. So for her, it was very scary because she was like, "How am I going to find a community here?"
Yeah.
And then from there, she somehow like met my dad at a church, I think. Yeah, at a church retreat, and then she decided to stop working while she had us because there's three of us, three kids, and she was like, it's too hard to work with three kids. But then when she was older, she didn't want to go back to being a nurse because it was too physical, and she really believed in Eastern medicine. So then she went to school and got her PhD in acupuncture and herbal medicine when she was like 50 something. And she graduated top of her class valedictorian. English is not her first language, So I think from her it was very much like you could do anything at any age. Basically anything's possible, and as long as you put your mind to it, you'll always find a way, and if you work hard, you can basically like nothing is impossible. And she never she has a lot of confidence, I think. My dad, he's just like so hardworking. He's just so hardworking, and then he's very involved in church, and he's an elder, and he has a lot of leadership positions, and just very, very generous. And so from him, it was very much like you always have to think about other people, and you always have to work hard. And so I think that's what I get from my dad.
Oh, that's fantastic. How lucky you are.
Yes, I know. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, yeah, really, because I talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of us have somewhat traumatic family background, whether it was intentional or not intentional. But that's really great. No wonder you're so chill and confident.
Yeah,
and
they're
have
chill.
that.
They are chill
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Oh, and the
Yeah.
dream, the vision and the dream to really make this happen, your business happen. What do your parents think of your business, Makku, making makgeolli?
I think they were very worried in the beginning, because they know how hard it is to have your own business, like especially my dad. And then they were like, you just got your MBA and you had a great job, and you really want to let it go to start your own company, and it's not just any company, it's Makgeolli. And also because they're so involved in church,
Yeah.
they were a little bit worried, like, okay, everyone's gonna know my daughter's starting an alcohol company. So there was a bit of that. But now I think regardless of how hard it is, they're always so proud of where I am. And even I always, complain to them of, oh, it's so hard, I don't know if it's ever gonna work. And they're always like, oh, you will make it work, right? So they're always encouraging me.
Do you ever offer to give them some free makgeolli for the church gathering? I'm just kidding.
They will give it to their personal friends in church, but they won't bring it to church.
It sounds like you have really great family relationship. What sort of parenting advice would you give to yourself, raising two soon to be two children?
Mm-hmm. I think self-confidence is the most important thing to learn as a child or as a young adult, because it will stay with you forever. And I think even when you're making friends, or if you're dating, or you're applying for a job, I think that really shines, and they will know someone who has confidence versus not. And it's really like genuine confidence, and I think that really genuinely comes from the love of parents. And so for me, I just want to always be very communicative and affectionate to my kids, to make sure that they know that they are loved, and I will be them for them no matter what. But I would like them to, like for me and my siblings, like we made so many mistakes growing up. I remember once I got in trouble for like taking something from a store, like when I was young, and I was so scared um, to see my parents, and I thought I would get in trouble, and all they said were, "Are you okay?" And I was like so shocked that I wasn't getting in trouble, I wasn't getting grounded, and um, I guess they thought I was going through something, or maybe I was influenced by my friends, because I was like with my friends at the time. So there was a lot of moments where I thought like they reacted a very different, and they always kind of reacted with love and care about like my well-doing and my well-being. And I think a lot of my friends who struggle with their parents, it's usually an emotional, like unavailability or lack
Right.
of communication, or lack of affection. And so I think I'm not exactly sure why that comes from a lot of immigrant parents. But I guess parents in general, like I think that's a really important thing to always showcase to your children. And so the other thing is like I want to make sure that they always know that I will be available for them, and like they will always be my priority. So making sure I'm not like one of those people who put work before, or like business before family. But yeah, that's another reason like I structured my business this way, because I was like, I want to be here when my kids are young, and I want to see them grow up, and um, my business I can focus on later.
Mm. I need to talk to your parents. Get some parenting tips. The
Grateful
legacy
for them.
continues, right? Legacy of love
Hopefully,
and
hopefully.
affection. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I haven't hit the hard parts yet, where they're like talking back to me, and I don't know, sneaking
Yeah.
out of the house. So who knows? Who knows if I could show them unconditional love.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that from a fellow Korean American, because like I mentioned before, I usually hear the opposite story,
Yeah,
so
a
which
lot
is
of our friends
heartbreaking.
have a lot of trauma. Yeah.
You talked about confidence. How do you tell someone has a genuine confidence? What does that look like?
I mean, it's usually very subtle. It's like disposition and demeanor, and the way they speak, and the way they hold themselves, and the way they negotiate and they stand up for themselves, or the way they talk about all of their accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in general, and even me as like an Asian American woman, I was never able to stand up for myself at work, or like ask for raises, or you know, um, if there was like a white male in the room, I was always
Right.
intimidated. So like I knew the things that to do, and I always kind of knew like, oh, why am I acting like this? But so it's a lot harder to do than I say. But I think the younger generations are much better at being confident and standing up for themselves. And I don't know if it's because there's so much advice on social media, or I don't know. I don't know where the Gen Z gets all of this knowledge and confidence from. But
Uh-huh.
now most of the people that I'm interviewing are much younger, and they are sometimes overconfident. But yeah, it's usually just being able to really stand up for yourself, and communicate in a way that puts you in a very bigger than what you are, I feel.
Yeah.
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 Whereas in the past, we would all make ourselves smaller than what we are.
Right. Yes, so true, so true. I mean, many of us who are in the in between spaces where we're either or both Korean and American or Korean or American or something in between, right? Self-image while we're growing up is, I think, a very critical part of our self-confidence building, like knowing who we are and being comfortable with who we are. Well, how was that for you? Were you always like that confident and proud of being a Korean American, or did it have any effect on you? How was that for you?
Never had an issue with being Korean American because I was always so integrated in Korean American communities. Like it was always available to me. So
Mm.
middle school, high school, elementary school, and I always went to church, and church was a huge part of my upbringing, and a lot of my close friends were at church that I would see every Friday and Sunday. Um, and it was a Korean American church, and then I think high school is the first time I went out of my zone, out of my district. And so I was exposed to a different population, I guess. But it was still like predominantly Asian school.
Mm.
But then I realized that I was a lot more Korean than other Korean Americans in the US, or
Oh,
even like in other parts of New York City,
yeah.
like farther
Oh.
from Flushing. Um, But then in those cases, I kind of gravitated back towards like my Korean American friends. And so I decided to choose a college that was a very American school. Like I wanted the whole like American experience. And I was like, I'm going to make American friends this time because I feel like I grew up my whole life just being so Korean and I live in America and I want to see what America looks like. So I went
Yeah.
to the University of Michigan. I wanted that football experience and I was like, maybe I'll join a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to like a few of the sorority like parties and it was such a big school that I was terrified my first few weeks and I was like so uncomfortable that I decided like I'm gonna transfer back to New York. And I was like telling my parents I'm gonna go to NYU. Um, but then I ended up going to church, a Korean American church, and then I made friends like instantly. And I went back to my pattern of like just having a whole Korean American crew, like
Mm.
community.
Yeah.
Um, so that was my college years, and then I went to business school. And again, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna really try to make American friends this time. And there I had a little bit more success. Like, I intentionally did not join the Korean Business Association. I didn't join the Asian Business Association. Um, so I made more diverse friends, but I realized they're mostly Asian American. So, uh, I never had like an issue with being Korean American. It was more the opposite issue where I was like, I wish I could diversify myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
But when the options were there, it was so quick. Like I was so easily attracted to go back to my roots and like a place of familiarity and sense of belonging. Yeah, that just has been my life trajectory. And I was like, oh well, I guess I'm kind of like, and now especially as a founder doing a Korean American business,
All
I'm like
right.
always supporting like all these Korean American
Uh-huh.
communities, and now I have a lot of Korean American founders and I married a Korean American husband, and I live in a very Korean American community once again. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess this will just be my life, and I don't have to be ashamed of it. I guess this is
Mm.
still an American experience for me.
Exactly. Absolutely. Although I think a lot of us find ourselves in that space too. Like, oh, I want to make non-Korean friends or like the Caucasian friends. I want to be more, I don't know, American, right, than Korean. I think we do because, and people try, in many different ways. Like some people just shun the Korean community altogether
Mm-hmm.
to be more like, or because I think a lot of us feel like we have to be
Mm.
more to be successful or accepted in this country.
So I have friends who've done that when they were younger,
Mm-hmm.
and they're more comfortable with the non-Korean or non-Asian communities now. But I realized usually it's because they are from places that were predominantly non-Asian.
Yeah,
And
like North
so,
Carolina, right?
right. And so they had from a very young age like this idea of I don't want to be Asian.
Mm,
But I don't think most of my friends who grew up in very Korean American communities really ever
mm,
felt the need to try to diversify outside of, Korean American communities. I think I'm a little bit more open-minded where I felt like,
mm,
am I getting the real American experience? And am I being too, close-minded by only having Korean American friends? But then I didn't want to unnaturally, force my
yeah,
life one way or another.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, like you said, all these things are American experience, Korean American experience. And you're making makgeolli. How amazing is that? A Korean American girl making makgeolli.
I
Korean American
know.
woman, I should say.
Yeah.
One more thing, as a Korean American or Asian American young female CEO, what advice would you give to other women who are thinking about or in the same track as you?
You need to fight for what you deserve, and for many years in the beginning of our business I didn't remember like your sense of worth, and to always negotiate and always, even when you're starting out, not to feel 쫄았어. I don't know what that is in English, but
I love it. 쫄았어. 돈 쫄지 마.
yeah. I actually trying to think about English translation, but
Whatever. 쫄아. 돈
yeah.
쫄아.
It's hard. Like you're always gonna feel small and intimidated
Of
in the
course.
beginning.
Yeah.
But I think that like saying "fake it till you make it," a lot of that is necessary in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wonder if the business would have been different if I started it now,
Mm,
because I just feel like I would have fought for myself and not let so many things go that have
mm.
cost my business so much money and time. Uh, but yeah, maybe the younger women are different now.
Yeah. I mean, all that is foundation that you have built.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. So your advice, 쫄지 마.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I love it. That's so great. We have seen a few different versions of Carol Pack today. Most importantly, 쫄지 마. Take 1.5 podcast listeners, 쫄지 마. That's the nugget of wisdom today. Thank you, Carol, for your time. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
If you're not following us on YouTube, and please follow, subscribe, and share.